think that's also an issue of balance and, refocus.
I feel like I spent the first 50 years of my life taking care of my parents or my kids, and I'd like to spend the next 50 years not seeing them. That would be a really good balance for me right now.
Where are they? They're living with you?
We're all mostly pretty close, yeah. I mean, that sounds kind of extreme, but it's wearing, it's fatiguing, and it's, frustrating.
Okay, well, I could just throw something out. At least, I don't know if this will work for you, but sometimes I see my own spiritual practice like food and water and exercise. And that the family or the other stuff, whatever that other stuff is that's draining, becomes more of a drain because I'm hungry and I'm not fulfilled and I don't have the energy to deal with it. And that the more I'm fulfilled physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the easier it is then when I'm there to be present, because then I'm okay. But when I go in and I'm not okay, then I'm less okay when I come out. So that might be something to consider, and how to nourish yourself enough that when you're there, you can actually be there. Because I mean, based on what you said, it's kind of a contradiction, because you said you value family, but it's been a burden. So maybe it's just you need more nurturing. Spiritual practice is self-nurturing. It's very self-nurturing. That's what it is. But so yourself can give to others. Like I do a lot of teaching and I do a lot of meditation, and I don't see a dichotomy between them, because I know the nourishing I'm giving is the nourishing I'm giving others. So although I'm doing it for myself, I'm doing it for them. So sometimes, to be there for your family, you have to be away from them to nurture, and then so. But I think it's important because it's a kind of it's like you're Arjuna, you need detachment. I mean, every challenge we face is like such an opportunity to grow, isn't it? It's like, okay, my life, right? I remarried when I was 42. I had a son already. He was born in 1973, and I married in 2000. 1993, not sure. So he was like 20 years old already. So I got married, and my wife never showed any desire to have children until she was like 40. And so I'm 14 years older than she was. No, she was 38 or something. I was like 51 when my daughter was born, and it wasn't expected. So I have that, and I already have this career, like this son is like whatever by then, it was like 28 or something, or 20 something. And one day my wife said, "You're gone, you're doing a lot of work, you're very successful, but I need you to put that same consciousness into making your family successful. You've just got your consciousness there, like nurturing consciousness. I think what you're saying is nurturing is important. You nurture yourself, but the family's not getting nurtured." So she said, put your success consciousness into your family. Don't just be out of balance. You're successful here and a failure there. The big successful guy and all his relationships fell apart and was bankrupt. So that helped me a lot. I realized, So I counsel so many people on email, writing long letters. People are always, because I do so many workshops. So if you get one or two every few months and you do X amount of workshops, you get a lot of email. So my daughter is going through a crisis now. She's in a school in India. I mean, there's several choices of schools, and she's going back to her old school, but it's not working out. So she spoke to me, and she told me, and I just listened. For half an hour, I just listened to her. Because I took courses in listening, and I know women like to be listened to. So I just listened, and I didn't argue, because I know it's important for her. I didn't direct her or anything. And she told me everything. And when I put the phone down, I was so impressed at how perceptive. She's 11 years old, and she figured everything that's wrong with the school. She could be like the principal. I was like thinking, I said, you actually don't have to go to school. You can just take a job as the principal. problem is you're too smart and you see what's wrong. And you're going to have to deal with this your whole life. And then, like, a lot of people won't see it, and it's just a curse of being wrong. And, you know, I said, I agree with everything you said, you've analyzed it like that. And I took a long time to write her. Longer than I take the other people, and I was thinking, I write all these other people all the time. Can't I take the time to write her? She wrote me back. She said, I was almost crying when I read that letter. Because I usually don't take that much time. She said, I was so happy to get it, that you validated me. So, you know, I saw this is like important, not just like I'm successful. People say, you helped me. And my daughter's like, you idiot. You know? She never talks to me. Yeah, he looks good. So we don't want to do that. Because then we're out of alignment. You believe in family, you believe in nurturing. So, you know, until you figure out how to do it, it's probably going to be a problem. But I think...
Well, I know I do it well. I just don't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah.
I want to, you know, tap back into feeling happy about it and not feeling... I kind of feel like you need more nurturing. That's maybe my own spiritual nourishing.
You went how many years raising the family? Not 50. No.
Well, I said I raised my parents first, and then so I was probably exaggerating.
Yeah, so it's obviously out of balance between the nurturing and the giving. Yeah, I've seen that. You're a giving person, therefore if you nurture yourself, it'll come back. You know?
Does that have to do with boundaries too?
Yeah. And see, the thing is, the real key in everything, you have to do it because it's coming from you, not because you have to. And you just have to get to that point. To connect, because if you connect deeply, if you nurture yourself, at some point you'll connect and say, actually, it's not that I don't want to do this, I just need to be nurtured, and I want to do it, but I have to want to, because I want to, not because I have to. I had a friend as a counselor, and I was giving a class on vows. Because in our tradition, people take a guru. When they take a guru, they take vows. They will chant so much. They will never eat meat, they will never have drugs, they will never have sex outside of marriage, and they will never gamble. They take these vows. So I was giving a course to help people be more committed to their vows, and I was in anxiety because of the feeling that I'm going to create if I get too heavy, it's going to create guilt for the people who can't follow it. So I went to this counselor, I did some workshops with her, and I said, how do I do it? She said, well, what I do is, when people come to me who've taken a vow and chant, and have given up the vow, I tell them, you don't have to. I said, why do you tell them that? He said, because they're not doing it anyway. And when they were doing it out of force. And so she said, they're not doing it, but even though they're not doing it, it makes them feel guilty every day, which is why they're not doing it, because the guilt is just going, pushing them down. So, that kind of guilt is negative. There's a healthy guilt, but that guilt is negative. So she said, once I told them they don't have to do it, generally what happens is eventually they start to do it because they want to. Because they realize, oh, I was doing it because I had to. Now I do it because I want to. So if you connect with the want, it changes your perception. Then it's like natural. But to connect with the want may mean a lot of nurturing till you come to that point where, okay, this is what I generally want to do. Anyway, that's a thought. But it works very much in if you're doing any kind of spiritual practice, if you come to the consciousness, I'm doing this not because I have to, because I've chosen to, and this is really what I want, your perception of it changes. It actually becomes enjoyable, even if yesterday it wasn't. Because I teach chanting. I'm teaching people who have vowed to chant 2 hours every day, 365 days a year, for the rest of their life. And for some people, that's really difficult, because it gets very monotonous and boring, and you get distracted, and you don't want to do it, thinking about all the things they have to do, right? During the day, they fall asleep. And one of the key things that helps them so much is getting out of I have to I want to. And just reframing, this is something you chose to do. You don't have to do it. Even you vow to your guru, still, he's not going to shoot you with a gun if you don't do it. And it shifts. Now I'm doing it for you. Connect with that. No, I actually at some point decided this is a path I wanted to take. Very powerful. So, maybe that will help with your family at some point. Maybe you can be more nurturing also to create boundaries. Under these situations, I'm there for it. Under these situations, it doesn't work. Something like that. You know something else? In the Eastern tradition, when the kids grow up, you know what they do? Just the opposite of what we do in the West. They support the parents. Financially in every way. It's the complete opposite. I put you through school, I did everything. You get the job, send the checks my way. I'm retired. That's the Eastern system. It's hard on the kids sometimes. But that's their system.
I like that.
That's a good system.
Well, you can tell. Why don't you tell them that's the
I'll
system?
share that with them.
That's the system we're dealing with. So, anyway, I just wanted, in closing with this exercise, I just wanted to say that I found personally that this kind of awareness is extremely important because it'll show up and then you'll realize when you're out of balance. You say, this person's harassing me. And then if you're in the right consciousness, the flags go off and go, opportunity for tolerance. It's just, wow, what an opportunity to be tolerant. God has sent me, the universe has sent me, you know. Otherwise, you know, my meditation. After I was just a hurricane, destroyed the universe. It's very important also. What I found, very interesting thing, the mind filter. Very interesting thing. They did studies, and they took people who had beliefs, they had very strong beliefs about something, and they brought in facts, objective facts, to disprove the beliefs, and the result was they became more strongly convinced of what they believed. And then they did it to, you know, both sides of an issue, conservative or liberal. And when they found that what happened is, if someone's convinced of what they believe, the mind goes through a filter, so they don't hear the arguments against it. Somehow it only makes them believe more strongly. So I found in my own spiritual practice of study of sacred texts, of scriptures, Gita, and other books, where it talks about developing certain qualities, it went right past me. It didn't register. I couldn't even. You'll ask me, well, was there forgiveness in that book? I'll say no. There was nothing about it because I had filtered it out. I was like so resistant to it and so blind to it, I didn't even see it in the pages. Which is why I said earlier, if you're not willing to forgive, then it's like you filter it out. It doesn't work. And in the spiritual practice, what about humility? You know, this big ego, and you're trying to become humble. And you'll read, I've read passages about humility without knowing that I read them, because I didn't want to be humble. It was like, you know. And then I went back and said, oh my God, all these passages of humility were in these books I read. And I had no idea they were there. Isn't that interesting? So this exercise is meant to help us become more aware of what we don't see, what we don't know we don't see, how we're out of line, when the opportunities come, if we're out of line, and we can realize, oh, this is an alignment thing here. I'm supposed to be this way, but I'm that way. And I think being married is really good, especially with someone who's a little hard, because you really have to be this. Because they really may press your buttons. And if you're good at it, you get new buttons. You don't get angry buttons anymore. You get, thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it. I'm so glad I'm married to someone who will point this out to me, because I need to hear this. Wow. Your husband's going to go, whoa, that was a good workshop. I mean, it's the truth. These are all opportunities, and you become more aware of them. You know? And I think it's just more obvious if we look at it, if we're trying to do something spiritual, because our ideals are much higher than most people's. Most people, you know, they may have some ideals, but they're not that attached. If they don't follow them, it's not. You know, if you take Christianity the way it's been formulated now, if you miss the mark, it's not a problem. You're still going to make it. It's not the issue. The issue is faith, not practice. You know, but those who are in a genuine spiritual practice they know it's about who you are, not just what you believe. I could say I believe, but who you are. What you are speaks so loud I can't hear what you're saying. And so, especially if you're teachers, You speak louder through who you are than what you're saying, don't you? And you know if you're there, like I do chanting workshops, if I'm there, when people share, they go, that was an amazing session. And I go, yeah, I know why, because I was more deep in that session, and I could see it affected. So should we take a break? And what's the lunch schedule? Is it here, or is it on its way, or?
Are you hungry? Yeah.
Anybody not hungry? It's here?
Yes.